Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. This is going to be almost a solely focused Thunder episode, to be honest, because it's my show, I'm biased, and I'm really excited about the Thunder. You know, of course, they're my favorite team and everything, but I think we have one of the most exciting young cores in the entire NBA, and I feel like we're getting slept on by a lot of people. We're going to be a lot better than people expect us to be, a lot more competitive. I'm not saying we're going to necessarily be like a playoff or a play-in team, but I think on any given night, the Thunder are really going to compete for a couple of different reasons, and I've seen a lot of the reasons why in the preseason so far. So I'm going to go through why some of the players in the preseason have really impressed me, why I'm so excited, and ultimately, why are people sleeping on the Thunder? This past Thursday, I was at a sports bar with a couple of friends watching the Thursday night football game, which was a big mistake. If any of you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. But before the game, there was NBA TV up on one of the TVs, and they were talking about, different teams' projections in terms of wins for this upcoming season, and they started talking about the Thunder, which I believe were projected at 23.5 wins, and he said resoundingly he's taking the under. He said that it's going to be far lower than that, and this is a take I've seen across a ton of different platforms. A lot of people saying we're going to win like 20 games, even like 15 games I've seen in some places, which I think is really disingenuous to what the team is building. I know the Western Conference has gotten better, but so has OKC, and I think that's pretty hard to tell if you don't watch the team, because you look at the personnel on the roster, and if you're a casual fan or if you're not someone who really pays attention to the Thunder much, there are probably a lot of names that you don't recognize or realize how good they could be for this upcoming season and kind of what the Thunder system is going to be. I think people kind of just look at this roster, look at the fact that we got Chet second overall, and then he got hurt, he's going to miss the season, and they think, oh, that big piece of the team is out all year, the Thunder are going to just kind of collapse, but that's not going to be the case. I fully expect us to be far better than last season. I have us as the 12 seed right now in the Western Conference, and I think we could have kind of some play-in noise throughout the season. I'm not saying we're going to make it. I think if Chet was here, there'd be a much better chance of that, but I do think, we're going to be a lot better than people give us credit for. So let's go through some of the guys who have really impressed me in preseason, and spoiler alert, it's basically everyone. Now, of course, before I talk about anyone else on the team, I've got to talk about our star player, Gilgeous-Alexander. You know how good Shai's going to be. He's going to be a guy that can give you 25, even 30, 35 points on any given night. He's going to do it efficiently. I think he has a bounce back year shooting from three this upcoming season. One of the best attackers of the rim in the entire NBA. He gets downhill, he's slithery, he gets to his spot basically whenever he wants, has shown an improved mid-range game over the course of last season, a great playmaker. Shai does basically everything. He's going to be phenomenal. He hasn't played in the preseason so far due to an injury, but he seems to be trending towards playing opening night, so fingers crossed that he does, and even if he doesn't, he should be back pretty quickly from that injury that's been bugging him. Then you've got his backcourt mate, Josh Giddey, who has been one of the most impressive players in preseason for me, because Giddey last season, he was really good. Great playmaker, great rebounder. He showed some scoring prowess here and there, but a lot of that was kind of just flashes, that offensive game. And for Josh Giddey and Shai to really work as a backcourt, Giddey has to be aggressive offensively, and he has to improve as a shooter, as an offensive player overall, to really make him and Shai work. And he looks like he's put a ton of work in to do that. He's doing his typical things. He's grabbing rebounds. He's making the most insane passes you would never expect. He had this one inbound pass today to Jalen Williams, which did not make any sense. He even tweeted about it later saying, I don't know how that pass worked, which, me watching the game and I had a bird's eye view, I don't know how he saw it on the court. He does those things basically regularly, but what I've really been impressed with is his ability to just shoot. He looks so much better, specifically his form. It has a lot more arc on it. He looks a lot more comfortable. He's even taking some mid-range jumpers against the Pistons today. He had a pull-up midi, which looked really solid and went in a few games ago. I forget who it was against, maybe the Nuggets, I think. He had this really good one-legged fading jumper, which was impressive too. But Giddey just looks like he's tried to put a lot more in his bag this upcoming season. He looks a lot stronger going to the rim, which is something he said he worked on in the offseason. And I've always been a big believer in Josh Giddey. Of course, he's a Thunder guy. I'm going to ride for him. But what he showed last season, I've been telling people people, him and Shea are going to work as a backcourt. They're going to be one of the best backcourts in the league for a really long time once the two of them kind of gel and they both grow within their own games and alongside each other, because they haven't gotten much time to play together yet. Really, when Giddey started to reach his stride last year, Shea got hurt, and then, Shea came back, and then Giddey got hurt, and they only played a few games together, and then the season was basically over. There are a lot of people really talking down on Giddey this offseason, saying that, the two of them aren't going to work, this and that and the other thing, and I didn't understand it. It's like people completely forgot how good he was this past season. He would have been on all-rookie first team and in Rookie of the Year conversations if he didn't get injured, but, whatever, I guess, because we're the Thunder, people don't pay attention, but they're going to have to pay attention really soon, because Giddey, the aggression that he's showing, the improved shooting, he shot 4 for 8 against the Pistons tonight, which is part of the reason why I want to make this video, is how impressed I have been with him, his aggressiveness, his ability to get downhill faster now, finish around guys. He said he's not trying to avoid contact anymore, he's trying to go through it and just ultimately become the perfect backcourt partner for Shea. And if he becomes a high-level shooter, I'm not asking for 4 for 8 from 3 from every night, but if he's at least like mid-30s, it goes a long way, and I'm really excited. It seems like he's taking those shots, he knows he has to knock them down, and if he can make defenses respect him and Shea are going to be one of the best backcourts in the league very quickly, in my opinion. And with those skills to go along with his already great rebounding and passing, plus the fact he looked great on defense tonight against Cade Cunningham, he was locking him up on a lot of plays. Josh Giddey is going to be a name that if you're not familiar with, which I hope most of you are if you watch this channel, if you're not familiar with him, get familiar with Josh Giddey. He's going to be all over your TV on ESPN highlight reels, SportsCenter top 10 with some of his passes, and him and Shea are going to be one of the best backcourts in the league pretty soon. Then you've of course got Lu Dort, who has looked like his usual self. He's knocking down threes, he's playing great defense, hustle plays, all the stuff that Lu Dort does, but his finishing is the big thing that continues to look and get better. Against the Pistons tonight, he had so many finishes where I was like, if you showed me that finish a couple years ago when Lu Dort, came into the league as an undrafted rookie on that 2020 Thunder team, and you showed me that footage, I would think you made that up. He just looks like a completely different player finishing around the rim. So much more finesse, much stronger, much lighter touch. Everything that he does, it feels like he takes better angles to the basket too. He finishes strong at the rim all the time. There were plenty of times last season. There's one play against Gobert in particular that I'm thinking of where he went right into his body and finished over him. If he can combine that power with the finesse that he's been showing off, Lu Dort is going to be in most improved player conversations this year. Then there's another guy in Tre Mann who has been getting a lot of attention on Twitter because of the way he's been playing. He's shooting 52% from 3 in the preseason, which, as always, it is the preseason, it doesn't mean a ton, but really the only thing for Tre Mann, in my opinion, that's keeping him from being a bona fide star at some point is just having his shots go down consistently. He's one of the best space creators in the league. There are so many moves that I just don't even think of that he pulls out of his bag, whether it's in the mid-range, he has this nice little kind of push shot, teardrop floater. I don't even want to call it a floater because it's almost like a one-handed jumper sometimes when he shoots it, but he's got that in his bag, step back threes. He's got one of the most lethal step backs in the whole league, if you don't believe me. Hopefully I put a clip here to kind of show you. It's just kind of ridiculous, the stuff that he's able to pull off, making it look easy against basically any opponent, and having a guy and this also keep in mind, both with, him as well as Giddey and even Lu Dort, they're all doing this stuff right now in preseason without Shea, who's a primary creator who creates disadvantages and advantages whenever he's on the court, which is only going to make him and everyone else way more effective when he comes back. So keep that in mind too. But Tre Mann, a lot of people kind of see his ceiling as maybe our 6th man. I'm not going to put that on him because I think Tre Mann could come into the season, average like 12 to 15 points this season, and by next year he could average 20 points per game. Did I mention there are going to be a lot of hot takes in this video? It's a biased video. There's going to be a lot of hot takes. I hope you're ready for those. Then there's Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara, J-Dub as he's called. He has looked phenomenal in both off-ball and on-ball roles. The main reason I was excited for him is because of his off-ball capabilities, with Shea and Giddey, who are two pretty dominant ball handlers. You want to have a guy like J-Dub who can slash to the rim, he can knock down shots, but really what's impressed me, because I already knew he could do that off-ball stuff, is his on-ball prowess. The way that he's been, especially as a playmaker, is super amazing. He had 13 assists the other night in one of our preseason games, and I don't think he's going to put that up on a regular basis, but he just adds another player to this team that can play make for others alongside Shea, Giddey, Dort, a couple other guys we're going to mention in this video too. Tre Mann has shown some flashes here and there. It just gives the Thunder another option where they can put the ball in his hands and ask him to make a play. He can create create space for himself too. He's shown a lot of prowess finishing at the rim because he's got the most ridiculous, like I think it's a 7'2" wingspan. It's absurd. Some of the finishes he comes up with at the rim. He's strong. He can finish through contact. J-Dub, I think there are going to be a lot of teams that are super upset that they didn't get him when the Thunder did. You know, just being a couple picks away from potentially securing him on their roster. There's going to be a lot of fans that are really mad when he makes an all-rookie team. Then there's Ousmane Dieng, who the Thunder got from the New York Knicks in that trade on draft night, and Dieng has looked incredible. He looks way more polished than I expected him to be coming into this first season. You know, you kind of look at his game, and a lot of people expected him to be this raw prospect, but especially defensively, he's looked incredible. He's got all the tools, I think, to be a really big plus defender on this team, but even offensively, he's knocking down threes pretty consistently. He's looked really comfortable doing that, and he's comfortable both being a role player, you know, cutting to the basket, knocking down threes, and there are a lot of times where it's kind of towards the end of the shot clock where he just happens to get the ball and he's like, okay, I guess I've got to create, and he takes advantage of those opportunities, finishing around the basket, knocking down threes, whatever he's got to do. And also when he's given that, you know, the full primary ball handling responsibilities in the late minutes of these preseason games, he's taking advantage of those opportunities too. It really feels like he could potentially be a solution at the 4 for us long term, and I know a lot of people said he was going to be raw. I know this, you know, is probably an overreaction, but I really think he could contribute as soon as this season. Then you've got Pokushevsky, who I know is a meme for a lot of people for a number of reasons, but Poku's looked really solid, and I'm not saying he's, you know, an all-star caliber player or an all-NBA player or anything. I'm just saying he looks like a solid rotation guy, which is a huge leap for him. He's been knocking down shots. He's been playing really solid defense, grabbing boards. He can push the ball in transition too. He had this great bounce pass tonight that ended up getting, you know, not converted because of some weird miscommunication. It went through Aaron Wiggins' hands, but he just looks so much more comfortable and so much more in rhythm this year. Fingers crossed that keeps up, because I really think he could start at the 4 for us, and I think people are going to be surprised how solid he is this year. Then there's Aaron Wiggins, who's a solid 3-and-D guy, as well as Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who does the same. And ultimately, I'm just really excited for this team. I think we're going to be so much better than people give us credit for. All of these guys have such high upside, such high potential. They work well together. I think we're going to be a really good defense. We already were last season for a good stretch of the year before Lou Dort got hurt. You know, I thought we could be a borderline top 10 defense with Chet Holmgren. I still think we can be in that upper, you know, 15 upper half of the league, which is incredible for a team really without a big starting center like Chet would have been, a defensive anchor like he would have been. It's a big accomplishment to do that. The guys, they have really active hands. There's a ton of length on this team. The guys just kind of get in passing lanes and make things difficult. I've seen that a lot in the preseason games. I think we're really going to lean on that defensive identity. And if Shea continues to be the guy that he is, Giddey takes that leap that I think he can, as well as Trey Mann, and Lou Dort just keeps being this great 3-and-D guy, the Thunder are going to shock and compete with a lot more teams than people expect. So basically what I'm saying is bet on the Thunder to win the finals and become a millionaire. I'll throw out a couple random more notes about the preseason games to kind of finish off this video. We played against the Pistons tonight, which the Thunder blew them out. But in this game, Killian Hayes in particular looked really, really good. He knocked down several threes. It felt like he could not miss. He played really solid defense. And I was a believer in Killian Hayes when the draft happened. Has not lived up to that, and I still believe there is something in there with him. You know, I don't think it's going to be Cade Cunningham's backcourt partner because of Jaden Ivey being there, who's a much better prospect, but it's just a solid defensive guard on that team. I still think he can be that. Also, prayers out to Marvin Bagley, who tweaked his knee and it didn't look good for me. I'm not going to say it was like an ACL or anything, but it looks like one of those non-contact injuries where it just kind of randomly happens. He just slipped on a wet spot and he ends up missing a lot of time. Really hoping that's not the case. He was great for them last year, and it was cool to see him kind of get this renaissance in Detroit. So hopefully he's able to come back soon and, you know, be healthy. Also, Jaden Ivey is just sick. His athleticism is completely off the charts. I can't wait to see him and Cade play together this season. And finally, I'll talk for a second about the Blazers versus the Warriors. As I'm recording this video, that game's not over, but last time I checked, the Blazers were down, I think, like 30 in the third quarter. Their defense looks rough, and I'm a bit more worried about them than I was prior to the preseason. Once again, it is the preseason. This does not mean anything, but it is a bit worrying. They don't have Damian Lillard out there, so I'm not shocked they're losing by a lot, although, you know, the Warriors aren't playing any of their guys. But the defense looks really bad. Like, the communication is not there. They give up a ton of backdoor cuts. It just looks like no one's on the same page, which you hope isn't the case, which It might be because you have Dame and Anthony Simons. Neither of them are a great defender. Josh Hart is pretty good, but also Yusuf Nurkic has never been a great rim protector. Jeremy Grant is solid. I just worry that they don't have any elite defenders in that starting five, and they're kind of weak in the bench. We'll see with the Blazers. I'm starting to kind of think that maybe I should have put the Kings over them in terms of the plan. Maybe that's a bit of an overreaction, but we'll see. With that being said, those are my thoughts on the preseason. If there's anything else that I missed, go ahead and comment it down below as always. I appreciate y'all watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. And also let me know where you think the Thunder end up in the seeding this season. Do you think we could shock the world and be a play-in team? Do you think we're around the 12 spot like I do? Let me know all of that in the comment section below. I appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. I'll see y'all later. Real One Say It back.